Right, I want to start with you, Adam. I want to get a fan's view. Is he done at United?
I think that's pretty much done and dusted for a lot of United fans now. You can't come back from going behind the manager's back, from going behind the club's back. The fact that Manchester United, you just alluded to it then, the fact that they're having to wait for the rest of this interview to come out. The fans are looking at this now. There is an element of betrayal in there. I think United fans look at this and say, well, we've been waiting for Cristiano Ronaldo to perform on the pitch all season. He's been underperforming on the pitch all season. Me, from my side of it, from pitch side going to the games, I see United fans not happy with Ronaldo's performances. It just looks like when everything is not going right for Ronaldo, he's unhappy. It has to be about him. We looked at the great performance against Spurs, and then he stole the headlines there by storming off the pitch. We had a great story yesterday in Alejandro Garnacho, an 18-year-old who scored the winning goal in injury time. Everyone's leading off into the World Cup happy. And then all of a sudden, on the way back home, we're hearing Cristiano Ronaldo again is stealing the headlines. It's just got too far now. And none of the United fans wanted it to go down this way. They didn't want it to be this way with Ronaldo and how this is ending. But this now is probably the worst case scenario. And we just want an end to it. It just is one big circus. And United fans will always back the manager. He says in that interview there that the fans have always been behind him. Well, I don't think that's the case now. Not now that he's gone behind the manager's back. And Ten Hag, I think personally, has dealt well with the issue of Cristiano Ronaldo. I didn't agree with him making him captain the other day against Aston Villa. I don't know what that was all about. It was very confusing. But for what he's done now, it does look like that is it in a lot of United fans' eyes.
To Samuel now. Samuel from the Manchester Evening News. Samuel, is this a sledgehammer subtle attempt to get himself sacked?
I certainly think it's the opening salvo to get off potentially. He didn't have an exit route. Jorge Mendes did his utmost to find him, whether it was Chelsea or Bayern Munich or AC Milan, Napoli, you can go on. And it didn't happen. And this is the confusion with Ronaldo and his use of the word betrayal. He has not once denied that story that came out 2 days before he was due back for pre-season training that he wanted to leave. You can look at the headline now. It's not been adjusted on the Times' website. He didn't go in for pre-season. Obviously, there was the family issue there. But ever since that summer, I think whether Piers Morgan actually addresses it in the interview when it comes out in its entirety remains to be seen. But Ronaldo is raging against the dying of the light because Manchester United are making progress as a football club now, finally, under a manager who has the authority, who is a disciplinarian, and they are making progress without him. They've had their best results and their best performances this season without Ronaldo starting. His contributions have been minimal, to say the least. I think he's got 3 goals in 16 games. He had 3 times as many goals last year. And really, they've got to draw a line under this because as jubilant as the scenes were among United supporters when Ronaldo re-signed for the club, the circumstances were troubling. Ronaldo himself has confirmed that he was bound for Manchester City. Then Sir Alex Ferguson intervened and changed his course from City to United. When you've got someone who's been retired from management for 8 years, sticking their oar in and having the definitive say really on the biggest transfer in the club's recent history, and it doing the damage that it's now doing, then you've got to draw a line under that. And United are behaving like a proper football club again. There have been significant changes there behind the scenes this season, this year. They are in the right direction. They've still got a long way to go. But Ronaldo really is misreading the room here because the matchgoers back Erik ten Hag unanimously. Ronaldo can, give us feedback on however many Instagram comments and Instagram followers he has in his corner. But to Manchester United, what matters most is the matchgoers, and the matchgoers are well and truly behind the manager.
That's interesting. All right, let's bring in our senior reporter, Melissa Reddy, who's out in Qatar. Samuel's just said that Ronaldo's misreading the room and they're with Ten Hag. How do you imagine Ten Hag will react?
I think in this situation, Erik ten Hag has already proved his authority. Manchester United have really backed him in every kind of way, recruitment-wise, in terms of the changes he's asked for at Carrington, for example, the new audio-visual room. Everything that's happening at the club, down to media commitments, he's involved in. And how he's handled the Ronaldo situation in its entirety has been really outstanding for a manager who doesn't have actually the history and the experience of working with a gigantic personality and figure like Ronaldo, who, as Samuel alluded to, you know, has this army of Instagram followers and so many millions of people worldwide that will back anything he says.
Pick up on that with Samuel. Melissa's just said, Samuel, that actually things are moving at United. But Ronaldo said, look, since Sir Alex, there's been zero progress. Is there a part of that that's got some truth in it?
He's correct on that, but if he really wanted to push Jim to work in, then he should have gone to Manchester City. It's been well documented that Manchester United stood still for far too long after Sir Alex Ferguson had retired, before Sir Alex Ferguson had retired as well. In fact, I suppose the irony in all this is that the rot really set in when Ronaldo left in 2009. There was a lack of investment in the squad in the final 4 years. Ferguson sold David Moyes a bit of a hospital pass with that squad. Moyes wasn't the right man. And look, here we are nearly 10 years later. United haven't won the league at all. But Ronaldo knew all this. And OK, I think the point he made about Ralf Rangnick and how a lot of people had never heard of him, and Ronaldo was one of them, was fair. The interim appointment last season, that was a dicey decision by United at the time. It got even worse as the season went on, even though Rangnick was good for us as journalists with his blunt assessments. But that was not an appointment that was becoming for Manchester United, really. And Ronaldo was entitled to be disgruntled about that. But also, when he did take that decision to go back to Manchester United, it always seemed rather curious that this serial winner who'd won wherever he'd gone chose a club that at that point had not won a trophy in 4 years and were being managed by someone who never gave you real confidence that they could ever be credible title contenders again in Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Of course, Ronaldo's got respect for Solskjaer, as he's outlined in the interview with Piers Morgan, but Solskjaer was a bit of a soft touch. Ten Hag is a disciplinarian. He's put Ronaldo in his place, and Ronaldo's bound to rail against that and not really enjoy the cut of Ten Hag's jib.
Indeed. All right, let's bring in our chief reporter, Kaveh Solhekol, again. Ten Hag's jib just mentioned there. How will he be feeling today?
Look, I know for a fact Erik Ten Hag is extremely disappointed today. He was angry, he was upset when he found out what Cristiano Ronaldo has done. And he feels that Ronaldo has disrespected not just him as the manager of Manchester United, but his teammates and the whole club as well. Now, as far as Ten Hag is concerned, he has never disrespected anybody. He's never disrespected any of his players. I think he's shocked that Cristiano Ronaldo has come out and said that I don't respect my manager because he doesn't respect me. Erik Ten Hag has always treated Cristiano Ronaldo just like any other player, and he made it clear when he arrived at Manchester United that that is what he was going to do. I think at the moment, it looks like, as far as Erik Ten Hag is concerned, there is no way back for Cristiano Ronaldo. It's looking unlikely, but never say never. It's looking unlikely that Ronaldo would ever play for United again while Erik Ten Hag is the manager. And I think Erik Ten Hag feels that he has done everything he can for Cristiano Ronaldo. Whenever Ronaldo has stepped out of line, there have been quite a few occasions. He's spoken to him, he's fined him where necessary, he's dropped him from the squad, but he's always welcomed him back. Even when he refused to go on as a substitute against Spurs, he was dropped for one game, then he came back. He started, I think, the next 4 games, and he was captain in one of those games. So I think we're getting to the point of no return as far as Erik Ten Hag is concerned. He doesn't know what else he can do. And I suppose looking from the outside in, a lot of people would be saying it would be understandable if Erik Ten Hag just said, look, I want to wash my hands of this situation.
But
There's no more I can do.
How easy is it to do that, to actually just get rid of him?
Well, It depends. It depends what's in the rest of the interview. When the interview comes out on Wednesday, Thursday, Manchester United will have a look at it. I'm sure their lawyers will have a look at it. They will look at his past employment history. Has he had any warnings before? For instance, is this a case of gross misconduct? What else has he said about people at the club? This is something that their lawyers will be looking at. And the good thing as far as Manchester United are concerned is there are no Premier League games at the moment. The World Cup is on. They can take their time to decide what they're going to do next with Cristiano Ronaldo.
OK, I want to bring Adam Stott, the fans representative, back in here. Kaveh just made a great point, Adam. We've only seen a snippet. We've seen about a minute and a half of what is an hour and a half's interview. How worried are you, as a Manchester United fan, of what else might come out?
I mean, in terms of the stuff about the Glazers, I think the whole bit behind the Glazers is to cover himself in a lot of fans' eyes. We already know. I think Samuel touched on it there. It's been well documented about the fall in Manchester United, the ownership. We've been protesting for the back end of last season into this season at games. We all know what the problem is at the football club with the ownership. We're worried about what he might say that will disrupt the rest of this season. United have come out and made the statement about we're looking forward to the rest of the season now, and I think the worrying thing is it's like what disruption he brings now to the playing squad, the staff. We're told that, we heard that it's not going to cause, no one's going to lose any sleep if Ronaldo does leave. We were celebrating that game in the change room after the Spurs performance, even though Cristiano Ronaldo wasn't there. And that's because of Ten Hag. Ten Hag has built up a connection back with the fans. The players are connected back with the fans. You can see it in the games this season, the away games. You can see the fans completely on board. And last season, the fans were totally dejected. The fans had no connection with the players at all. We've seen a game of being booed off. You're not fit to wear the shirt chants coming from the fans. And these are the hardcore Manchester United fans. And Ten Hag has built up. He's built that back up and the connection is there. The fans are wanting to go and watch Manchester United. They're enjoying watching it again and they don't need this side circus. No one wants to see this side circus with Ronaldo. It just seems to be all about him. He doesn't come over himself many times and clap the fans. He's always been known for storming off just straight off the pitch, not shaking anyone's hands, not coming over to the fans like other players do. The biggest fear is what it does to the rest of the season in terms of what Ten Hag has built. And I mean, we've already seen in that 1.5 minutes, that's enough for me as a fan to say, look, you have gone behind the manager's back. The manager is the most important player, the most important person at the football club, and there's not one player bigger than the club. We are Manchester United supporters, not Cristiano Ronaldo supporters. We support whoever walks out on that pitch. If Ronaldo is not there, then so be it. But it's what he does, disruption behind the scenes in terms of what goes on with the playing staff, the coaches, and what comes out there. I think the Glazer stuff, he can go to town on that in terms of the fans' eyes and say what he thinks. But to be fair, I think it will be nothing that we don't already know.
OK, Samuel, why didn't they just rip up his contract in the summer?
Well, I don't think Erik ten Hag necessarily wanted to lose him at that point. You had the mitigation of the attack at that point. They hadn't signed Anthony. It was looking doubtful that they were going to sign Anthony because of the money that Ajax were demanding for him. And United weren't really planning any other major attacking reinforcements. Ten Hag was quite honest towards the end of last season at his press conference unveiling when he said that he wanted to use Ronaldo, that he saw a role for him in the squad. And look, I don't think that Ronaldo at that point really envisaged that he wouldn't have a role if he did end up staying at United, but he did want to leave. The timing of the story coming out that he did want to leave was problematic, and that it was 2 days before he was scheduled to return for pre-season training. It's very rare that you get clubs just tearing up a player's contract, especially one who last season was the player of the year in the fans' eyes. He won the Sir Matt Busby Player of the Year award. He was one of United's best players. Last season was on an individual basis, it was a triumph for him. Collectively, it was an absolute disaster for United. And I don't think United really wanted to entertain the prospect of losing Ronaldo at that point. They saw his seniority and his stature and his presence as being extremely useful, to say the least, with a new manager coming in who had never really had that experience of managing egos. But the way it's just gone ever since that story came out in early July, it's been a spiral. And again, Ronaldo has talked about being betrayed, but he was recalled for the Brentford game in August. He started 4 games on the spin recently. As Adam said earlier, the decision to make him captain for the Villa game was baffling, really. That was overindulgence. That was probably the only error Ten Hag has made in his handling and his discipline in dealing with Ronaldo. And there were a lot of supporters there that day that were mystified why Ronaldo was captaining the team so quickly after that transgression against Tottenham. As Adam said earlier, it has got past the point of no return now. It's almost irrelevant what he says in the rest of the interview. He said that he doesn't respect the Manchester United manager, and he is still a paid employee of Manchester United. You cannot tolerate that. And Manchester United, up until they appointed Erik ten Hag, they'd had 4 years of player power, of indulging Paul Pogba, who really didn't deserve it, to the point that they sacked Jose Mourinho over him. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was too soft and protected Paul Pogba. Now they've got a manager in who is a disciplinarian, who is very authoritative with the way that he conducts himself. Ronaldo clearly is railing against that, but he's getting nowhere because the power is back with the manager now, and that's the way it should be, not just at United, but every major club.
OK, let's go back out to Qatar and speak to our senior reporter, Melissa Reddy. That's really interesting, Melissa. So, point of no return seems to be the consensus. So what are the options for Ronaldo?
Well, I think by forcing United to make him a free agent, he's hoping that his option pool increases, because as we saw over the summer, the figure was 0, basically. There was no real offers for him, no inquiries to the club. United's position that he wasn't for sale was never tested. They weren't even put in any uncomfortable situation bar by Ronaldo himself stating his desire to leave. There was nothing at United or any conversations, even privately, that they had with executives from other clubs or even with his camp that suggested something was going to materialize. And so I think Ronaldo's people are trying to test, does that actually change if he's in full control over his future and no club is involved? We know the only side that have come out and romanticized about his return have been Sporting. And they've said still, even though they dream about this Ronaldo return and they know what it would do for the club commercially and how it would just, put them in a global audience and frame of mind, that financially they cannot afford his wages even if he took a staggering pay cut. We've seen Napoli, Bayern Munich, Atleti, Milan, a whole list of clubs line up to say that he is not of interest to them. And actually, I think Bayern had the best summary. A fantastic player with a fantastic past. And Ronaldo's now in a situation, I think most of his anger and irritation at United and at Ten Hag is not actually based on the club itself or the manager. It's with his own battle of not accepting that he's not the player he once was. He cannot be the main man. Everything cannot be catered towards him and funneled through him. And I don't know what top club he thinks is going to give him that, where he's going to be a guaranteed starter, where the approach is going to be tailored around him. But ultimately for United, they have to come out really strongly and show that no player is bigger than the club and that the new direction under Erik ten Hag, that they're all in with it. And a lot of points that Ronaldo made in that interview about infrastructure, about facilities. It is true, United have been so far behind their competitors in that regard. But his timing of the comments and his timing of this interview jars, because for the first time actually, with the appointment of Erik ten Hag, with the restructuring behind the scenes, with the fact that they are actually investing into Carrington and exploring the redevelopment of Old Trafford, the investment they've made into analytics, all these things that United are doing to turn them into a modern club, with Pep Guardiola actually saying as well, he feels that finally they're back, they're coming back. This is all stuff that's happening, and United are moving forward, they're looking to the future, they're improving. And actually the biggest issue they have at the moment is Ronaldo himself. So while a lot of the things he said is true, United are actually moving away from that, and he's undercutting their progress with everything that he's doing.
Yeah, Adam, I want to bring you back in here. Melissa's talking about the club going forward, but I want to talk about Ronaldo's legacy. There's a lot being spoken about this, but surely his legacy is as a Real Madrid player. He didn't do his best work at United. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think he was a superstar at Real Madrid. United started it off. We created the monster that is Ronaldo. We created the superstar in the making, you could say. Real Madrid is where it all really hit off for Cristiano Ronaldo. The majority of his trophies were won there. The Ballon d'Ors, in fact, most of them were won there. He got one at Manchester United. But in terms of his legacy with United fans, now, like I said in the first piece, when I said this is not what any Manchester United fan wanted, but the reality is the United fans have been going through this near on decade now of underachieving for the football club. We're at a point where we want to see the team. We want to see Manchester United. And I'll go back to saying it again, no one player is bigger than the football club. Ronaldo leaves, United will move on. It's as simple as that. And how he is seen after this, it will tarnish that legacy. It will. It has for me. I'm slightly older, so I've seen other players come through before Cristiano Ronaldo. I rated Wayne Rooney's influence on the football club bigger than Cristiano Ronaldo. And Ronaldo's going on Wayne Rooney as well in this interview. It's like you cannot say anything bad about Cristiano Ronaldo. Every player should be criticised, fairly criticised if they are underperforming. That's how the fans see it. And Ronaldo is just the same as any other player. What's happened before, and like you said, the superstar status from Real Madrid, that's in the past. And we have to move forward. Ronaldo isn't able to do what he did before. We would have liked him to move on, happy, and everyone would have been all willing to see him off and say thank you. But this season, it's just gone too far, and a lot of fans now, I know, can't wait to see the back of Cristiano Ronaldo. They've had enough. They've had enough of, like I said before, the circus. His legacy, his main legacy is at Real Madrid. You said it there. United did start it all off, but I mean, for what he has done for Manchester United, that is great, what he did before, but it is in the past. It's time to move forward. This club will not move forward with Cristiano Ronaldo and what is going on right now. But that's it. It's the reality, and the reality hurts. I think that's what Ronaldo is. That's where Ronaldo is right now.
Samuel, Adam makes a great point in there about criticism. Can Cristiano Ronaldo take criticism?
I don't think he can. I think you've seen the way he's responded to it on Instagram before. He mentioned Wayne Rooney last season about something he said about him. I think he said too jealous. I suppose when you build up that complex, if you like, and you are probably the greatest player that's ever played the game, you're not going to entertain any criticism from any Tom, Dick or Harry. Ronaldo did used to entertain it. I think when he was in his first years at United and he had great professionals like Roy Keane, Gary Neville, Ryan Giggs on his case, he was receptive to it because he knew at that point he wasn't the best, but he wanted to be the best. And those figures were vital in his pathway to becoming certainly the game's greatest goal scorer. And, you know, speaking personally, Ronaldo is by far and away the best player I've ever seen pull on a United shirt. But for the United fans, I suspect they will hold other players dearer to them who have not necessarily reached the heights that Ronaldo has, but they have a closer place in their hearts because of the way they dedicated themselves to the club. And that's the interesting dynamic between Rooney and Ronaldo. I mean, Rooney, a couple of times he wanted to leave. He fluttered his eyelashes very infamously at Manchester City in 2010. But the way it's going at the moment, he's likelier to be remembered more fondly by United supporters than Ronaldo. And from Ronaldo's perspective, he's looked at Ralph Rangnick and thought, what's this sporting director who's managed 81 games in a decade coming in, telling me what to do, telling me how to press. And then there's this Dutch guy who comes in from the Eredivisie of all places, and he's probably thinking, what the hell can he teach me? Who's he to tell me when to leave a game, when to come back from pre-season training, etc. Why would he ever entertain the notion of dropping me for Anthony Martial of all players? And, you know, some of those points are valid. But Ronaldo this season, there's been a massive drop-off. The fact of the matter is, you only have to look at the results, United's best results and their best performances this season. He is not featured in any of them, certainly not as a starter. They are moving forward as a club now. It does feel a more progressive club just to be covering, just going to Carrington on Fridays. That's the way they are at the moment. And this is all happening with Ronaldo as a peripheral presence, really. And look, the timing of the interview, whenever he actually conducted it with Piers Morgan, it's kind of moot because he's missed the last 2 games through illness, and then here he pops up on a Sunday night, looking reasonably well, chatting to Piers Morgan, unloading on the club and unloading on his manager. So whatever he has to say about the Glazer family, he's not going to be brandishing a green and gold scarf, and I think supporters would have to be very gullible to actually really invest in what he has to say about the ownership, because it's damage limitation now. Any right-minded Manchester United fan will be backing the manager over the player in this situation.
Indeed. Well, we wait and see what else Ronaldo has to say, but what the 3 of you have had to say has been absolutely fascinating. So thank you, Samuel Luckhurst from the MEN, United stand Andy Scott, and Princess Melissa of Qatar. Thank you all very much indeed. And the final word to Kaveh Solhekol, our chief reporter in the studio. Kaveh, how is this going to end?
Look, I think it's going to end with Cristiano Ronaldo being punished severely, because Manchester United cannot accept a player behaving in this way. You know how the media works. If a player wants to do an interview with any reporter or journalist, it has to go through the club. It's organised through the club. You can't have a situation where players are going AWOL, doing their own thing, speaking to whoever they want to speak to behind the club's back. And then, when they do these interviews, saying things like, I've been betrayed, I don't respect the manager, or criticising the owners. Manchester United can't accept this. This is going to have to end with Cristiano Ronaldo being punished severely. I don't know. Maybe there's a possibility even that his contract could be terminated and he could be dismissed. That is something for lawyers to look at. But who are the winners in all this? Is there really any winners in all this? Is Cristiano Ronaldo going to come out of this better? Manchester United going to come out of this better? The only real winners in this are Piers Morgan and TalkTV, who've managed to get a fantastic exclusive interview that everybody is talking about. Surely, if Cristiano Ronaldo had a problem with Manchester United, he should have gone and spoken to Manchester United behind closed doors, dealt with this face to face with the owners, the managers, in private. There's no reason for him to do all his dirty washing in public like this, because it's dragging the good name of Manchester United through the mud.